Let me take you into the heart of what it means to truly connect with a woman at 50, drawing on the timeless wisdom of Carl Jung, whose insights into the human psyche offer a roadmap for authentic relationships. When we talk about impressing a woman at this stage of life, it's not about flashy gestures or chasing ideals that belong to youth. It's about showing up as your fullest, most genuine self, a self that's been shaped by years of experience, triumphs, and even scars. This is where Jung's concept of individuation comes in, and I want to unpack that for you, because it's the foundation of leaving a lasting impression that's real, not rehearsed. Imagine you're standing in front of a woman who's lived 5 decades. She's seen the world, felt its joys and pains, and likely knows herself in ways that younger versions of her never could. She's not looking for pretense. She's looking for someone who's done the work to know themselves, too. Jung taught us that individuation is the lifelong journey of integrating all parts of who you are, the light and the shadow, the conscious and the unconscious. It's about becoming whole, not perfect. To impress a woman at 50, you need to embody this wholeness. You need to walk into the room not as a man trying to prove something, but as a man who's comfortable in his own skin, flaws and all. This starts with self-awareness. Take a hard look at yourself, not just the polished parts you show the world, but the corners of your soul you've maybe avoided. Jung believed that the unconscious holds pieces of us we don't always want to face, insecurities, regrets, or unhealed wounds. At 50, you've got stories, some you're proud of, some you'd rather forget. But here's the thing, those stories are your strength. They're what make you human, relatable, and real. A woman at 50 isn't impressed by a man who pretends he's got it all together. She's drawn to someone who's wrestled with life and come out wiser, someone who can say, "I've been through the fire, and I've learned who I am." So, how do you show this? It's not about reciting your resume or flexing your achievements. It's in the way you carry yourself, calm, grounded, and unafraid to be vulnerable. Vulnerability, by the way, isn't weakness, it's courage. It's sharing a story about a time you failed and what it taught you. It's admitting you don't have all the answers but you're still searching. Jung would tell us that embracing your shadow, those parts of you that aren't always pretty, makes you more authentic. And authenticity is magnetic. When you're real, you give her permission to be real, too. That's where connection begins. Now, let's talk about what this looks like in practice. Picture yourself meeting a woman at a social event. Instead of leading with small talk or trying to impress her with surface-level charm, you ask her a question that invites depth. What's something you've learned about yourself in the last decade that surprised you? You listen, really listen, not to respond, but to understand. You share something true about yourself in return, maybe a moment that shaped you or a value you hold dear. This isn't about performing, it's about being present. A woman at 50 has likely seen through enough facades to know when someone's hiding. Show her you're not. Jung's idea of individuation also means letting go of societal pressures that tell you who you're supposed to be. At 50, you might feel the world expects you to act a certain way, maybe to chase youth or project unshakable confidence. But Jung would urge you to reject those scripts. A woman at 50 doesn't need a man who's trying to be something he's not. She wants someone who's done the inner work to stand firmly in who he is. That means owning your age, your experiences, and even your quirks. Maybe you've got gray hair or laugh lines, wear them like badges of a life well lived. Maybe you've got passions that don't fit the mold of cool. Share them anyway. Your authenticity is your power. This journey of individuation isn't just about impressing someone else, it's about becoming the best version of yourself. When you're on this path, you radiate a quiet confidence that doesn't need validation. You're not looking to a woman to complete you, because you're already whole. And paradoxically, that's what makes you so compelling. Jung believed that true connection happens when two whole individuals meet, not when one is seeking to fill a void. So, do the work. Reflect on your values, your purpose, your fears. Journal, meditate, talk to a therapist. Whatever helps you uncover your true self. The more you know yourself, the more you can offer a genuine connection. Let's be clear, this isn't about changing who you are to fit someone else's expectations. It's about becoming so deeply rooted in your own truth that you naturally draw in someone who sees and values that truth. A woman at 50 is likely on her own journey of self-discovery, and she'll recognize a kindred spirit in a man who's doing the same. Your authenticity becomes a mirror, reflecting her own strength and depth back to her. That's not just impressive, it's transformative. As you move forward, remember that impressing a woman at 50 isn't about grand gestures or fleeting charm. It's about showing up as a man who's done the hard, beautiful work of knowing himself. Let your life story, every chapter, every scar, be the gift you bring to the table. When you live authentically, you create space for a connection that's real, deep, and lasting. So, take that first step today. Look within, embrace your whole self, and let that truth shine. The right woman will see it, and she'll never forget it. Here's the truth to carry with you: authenticity isn't just how you impress someone, it's how you build a life worth sharing. Start that journey now, and watch how it changes everything. Now that we've talked about showing up as your authentic self, let's dive into the second piece of this journey: how to connect with a woman at 50 through emotional depth and shared meaning. Carl Jung, the great explorer of the human psyche, gave us a profound lens for this: his concept of the anima, the inner feminine aspect within a man that shapes how we relate to others. When you're engaging with a woman at this stage of life, she's not looking for shallow flattery or fleeting sparks. She's seeking a connection that feels soulful, one that touches the deeper parts of who she is. And to create that, you've got to show up with curiosity, empathy, and a willingness to meet her in a place of shared humanity. Let's unpack what this looks like and why it matters. Picture a woman at 50. She's likely spent decades navigating life's highs and lows, raising families, building careers, or maybe reinventing herself after unexpected turns. She's not just looking for someone to pass the time with, she wants a connection that feels meaningful, one that honors the depth of her experiences. Jung's idea of the anima reminds us that men carry an inner feminine energy, a guide to understanding emotions, intuition, and relationships. To impress a woman at this age, you need to tap into that energy. This isn't about grand romantic gestures or trying to win her over. It's about creating a space where she feels seen, heard, and valued for her inner world. So, how do you do this? It starts with listening, really listening. Not the kind where you're waiting for your turn to speak, but the kind where you're fully present, soaking in her words, her tone, her silences. When you meet her, don't just ask, "How's your day?" Ask something that invites her to share her story. What's a moment in your life that changed how you see the world, or what's something you're passionate about that you don't get to talk about enough? These questions aren't just conversation starters, they're doors to her soul. And when she answers, don't rush to fill the silence. Let her words linger. Reflect back what you hear, not to parrot her, but to show you get it. "That must have taken so much strength," or "I can see why that means so much to you." This kind of listening says, "I see you, and you matter." Jung believed that true connection happens when we bridge the conscious and unconscious, when we meet someone not just as they appear but as they are. A woman at 50 has likely spent years refining her sense of self. She's not impressed by surface-level charm, she can spot it a mile away. What moves her is a man who's curious about her inner world, who's willing to go beyond small talk to explore what makes her tick. Share something meaningful from your own life in return. Maybe it's a story about a time you faced a fear and came out stronger, or a dream you're still chasing. This isn't about oversharing or dominating the conversation, it's about creating a dialogue where both of you feel safe to be real. Empathy is your greatest tool here. Jung's work reminds us that relationships thrive when we connect through shared humanity. A woman at 50 has likely seen enough of life to value a man who can feel with her, not just for her. If she shares a challenge she's faced, don't jump to fix it. Most times, she's not asking for solutions. She's asking to be understood. Say something like, "I can't imagine how hard that was, but I'm amazed at how you carried yourself through it." This shows you're not just hearing her words, you're connecting with the emotions behind them. And that's where the magic happens. That's where she feels not just impressed, but known. This kind of connection also requires you to be vulnerable. Jung's anima teaches us that embracing our emotional depth makes us whole, not weak. Don't be afraid to share your own struggles or dreams, even if they're messy. Maybe you've had a moment in your life where you felt lost and had to find your way back. Share that, not to make the conversation about you, but to show you're human, too. This creates a bridge between you, a shared space where both of you can bring your full selves. A woman at 50 will recognize this as rare and powerful. Let's be practical for a moment. This doesn't mean every conversation has to be heavy. You can connect deeply over a laugh, a shared love for a book, or a quiet moment watching the world go by. The key is intention. Approach her with curiosity and respect, not an agenda. Don't try to impress her by being someone you're not. Jung would remind us that pretense blocks true connection. Instead, let your questions and your presence show that you value her as a whole person, not just a romantic prospect. Ask about her passions, her fears, her joys. And when you share, do it with honesty. Maybe you love cooking because it reminds you of your grandmother's kitchen, say that. Maybe you're still figuring out what retirement looks like for you, admit it. These truths build trust. This approach aligns with the authenticity we talked about earlier. When you're true to yourself, you create space for her to be true to herself. That's what makes a connection lasting. It's not about dazzling her in a moment, it's about building something that grows over time. Jung's wisdom tells us that the deepest relationships come from meeting someone in their wholeness, shadows, light, and all. At 50, a woman doesn't just want to be impressed, she wants to be understood. She wants a partner who's brave enough to show up as himself and curious enough to see her as she is. So, as you step into this journey, commit to connecting with depth. Listen with your heart, share with honesty, and approach every interaction with curiosity. This isn't just about impressing a woman, it's about creating a bond that enriches both of your lives. Start today by asking one meaningful question and listening like it's the only thing that matters. That's where true connection begins. Here's the truth to hold on to: a meaningful connection isn't built on perfection, it's built on presence. Show up, be real, and watch how a single conversation can change everything.